There we go.
Welcome to session 2 of supported decision-making with Sarah Thompson from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, hosted by the ARC of Virginia.
Thank you, Lucy. So thank you all for coming. For those that are back for week 2, thanks for coming back. And for those that are new, thank you for joining for week 2. So I am Sarah Thompson. I am the Supported Decision-Making Community Resource Consultant for the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. And my role is just to talk about supported decision-making agreements, and to help people across Virginia understand what they are and that they are an alternative to guardianship. So some of this might be a repeat initially from last week. I just want to cover some stuff for anybody that might be new joining us, but then we'll dive on in to new information. So tonight, we are going to be looking at if there are any questions from last week. Then we'll just kind of follow up and see if there's any new questions. We'll do the quick review of what supported decision-making is and supported decision-making agreements, and I will review SAM again for everybody. And then we're going to look at the second discovery tool, which is the When Do I Want Support tool. We will look at SAM's version of that, so that can kind of maybe help guide you as you are looking at the tool yourself. And then again, we've got some question and answers time. So let me see here. So I do want to open it up just to see. Week 1, we talked about the what kind of support do I want discovery tool, and I wasn't sure if there were any questions about that before we get into tonight's information. I know that, at least for me, I'm a person as far as my support that I need time to process things and think things through. So sometimes I think of stuff the next day or even a week later. So I want to give that time if anybody did have questions about that.
Do you have any question, Andrea?
Yeah.
What question do you have about decision?
Well, decision making is making decision about the future.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's good.
Yes, thank you.
What?
Well, if anybody does think of anything else, let me know. We can even take those questions from last week at the end of today. And like Lucy said, I'm putting together, with the help of Lucy, a combination of all of the questions that come up and answers that y'all will get at the end of the 4 weeks. So we're going to briefly review what supported decision-making is and what the agreements are. So supported decision-making is defined as the decision-making model in which individuals make decisions with the support of trusted individuals. So people get help when they've got questions or need to make a choice or make a decision from talking to people that they trust. Not even necessarily talking to people, maybe looking at books or information online that they trust. And this is done kind of in an informal sense where we all do this. Everybody does it, not just people with that might have a disability, but anybody can talk to people that they know that might have information that they need in order to be able to make what we call an informed decision. The idea of supported decision-making also is a tool that can be used to help increase people's self-determination or their ability to be able to live the life they want by making the ultimate decisions for themselves. Supported decision-making agreements are what we consider the more formal process, as this is a document where somebody says, writes down what parts of their life they want help in, who they want to help them, and how they want to be helped or supported. And supported decision-making agreements are made up of at least two people. You have the decision maker, who is the person who is making the agreement and ultimately making the decisions in the end. And then you have supporters. These are the people that they ask to help them when it comes to making decisions. And then you have the option, but it's not required, to have a facilitator. And the facilitator's role is to make sure that the supporters are kind of doing what they say they're going to do. So your decision maker is anybody that's 18 years or older, who has an intellectual or developmental disability, and who can legally make decisions on their own. And this is in Virginia. This is going to be different in other states, but in Virginia right now, you have to meet those three things. So 18 years old or older, have an intellectual developmental disability, and be able to legally make your own decisions, meaning you don't have a legal guardian or a legal conservator. Your supporters and your facilitator can be anybody that you want them to be. It could be a family member, a friend, a coworker, anyone that you trust and who agrees to support you within an agreement. Your supporter and your facilitators are not paid, though, to help you. They are kind of helping you out like natural supports would. But they are doing it, we say, in a formal way because it's documented on a paper how they are agreeing to help you out. So we're going to look at Sam, and we met him last week. Well, all 4 weeks we are looking at Sam and Sam's discovery tools, and then ultimately on the 4th week we're going to look at Sam's agreement. So I want to remind you about Sam and a little bit about his background. So Sam is 18 years old. He has autism and uses words to communicate. He is in high school and has been learning job skills and about how to be a good employee while in school. Sam is considering graduating so that he can work and focus on his dream of being an actor. Sam lives with his mother, father, and older sister, who visits when home from college. And Sam wants to live on his own in the nearby city after he graduates, because he feels that the city is where stars are made. Sam's parents are nervous about Sam living on his own and making his own decisions because they worry he will be taken advantage of by others. Sam has never had to budget his money or pay bills and believes that everyone he meets is his friend. Sam and his family decided to use a supported decision-making agreement to help Sam talk through decisions and the areas of life he needs more support. Sam is able to make his own decisions and keep his rights and independence. Sam and his family understand the benefits of Sam's right to take risks and learn from them, which we call dignity of risk. So the second discovery tool, that we are going to talk about tonight, is the When Do I Want Support tool. And so this tool is a way to document or show the different things in your life that you can do all on your own. You don't need any help with. Things that you can do, but you need maybe some help from somebody else with it. And then things that you can't do at all right now, that you need somebody else to do for you altogether, because again, you either can't do it, or sometimes it might be things that you just don't want to do, because we all have that. The neat thing about the When Do I Want Support tool is you can also use it to look at maybe new skills or things you want to learn how to do, because we all are always growing. Even though we might be 18 or older and considered an adult, we all still learn new things and learn new skills and information. And this might be a way to kind of figure out and learn what are some things that I need to work on or might want to work on. So this tool covers 8 life areas. It's going to look at health and personal care, friends and partners, money, where I live in community living, school and education, working, my rights and safety, and meeting and talking with my supporters. So these are kind of larger topics or areas of life, and we get more specific within each one. Now, I do have a ninth one here that's other, and that is a space where you'll be able to put more details if there's something in your life that we don't cover in these other 8 life areas that you might want support in. So this is the first page. This is what the tool looks like. It is 10 pages long. And there on our website, there is a Word document version of it. And there is also a fillable PDF, which I believe is the version that you guys probably received in the email from Lucy. So the thing that I really like about this tool is that it goes in the same order as the Virginia Supported Decision-Making Agreement template. So all of the life areas are listed in the same order as they are in the agreement template. And all of the decisions or tasks, things that you might have to come across in those life areas are listed in the same order. So the first page of this tool, of this discovery tool, starts with health and personal care. And the first life area on the agreement is health and personal care. The first question or decision looks at getting my healthcare information. That's the first one on the discovery tool. And the very first thing on the supported decision-making agreement talks about getting and looking at my healthcare information, including my private health information under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So if you fill this tool out, and we'll talk about this crosswalk on in 2 more weeks, but if you fill this out, then it becomes a lot easier to fill out the supported decision-making agreement template. Because it is a long document, it's 10 pages, and there's a lot of different decisions within each of the different life areas. I'm only going to touch on a few of the different decisions or types of support in each of the life areas tonight. But if you've got questions as you're looking through it, and it might be on one that we don't cover, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know, and we can always talk about that. So for under health and personal care for Sam, the first one is get my healthcare information. Now, that is something that Sam does want help with. I think he is comfortable with talking to people, but maybe when it comes to getting, knowing what information is needed to get from his doctor, if he needs to get a copy of his physical or a copy of his records, that might be more complicated to understand. So he does want help with somebody doing that. However, when it comes to doing something like choosing when to go to the doctor, Sam can do that on his own. Although Sam can tell you that he needs to go to the doctor, maybe he's feeling sick. When it comes to making and keeping his doctor's and dental appointments, he does need assistance with that. He needs reminders for those things. Also, some assistance with making sure that he's scheduling it and isn't already busy with those dates and times. The next possible choice or task at hand is understanding and making medical choices in serious situations. So things like having to have surgeries or having a big injury. Those are kinds of things that Sam also wants help with, because those are bigger decisions that might be harder to understand, especially when talking to a medical professional or a doctor. It might be easier for Sam to have somebody who knows him well be there to describe what's going on and what might happen in a different way than maybe his doctor could explain it to him. And then understanding and making medical decisions or choices in an emergency, that's something that Sam wants somebody to do for him altogether. He gets really worried in emergencies, and it's hard for him to think through his options. So he'd rather somebody else just make those decisions or choices for him. There's a lot of different options when it comes to health and personal care. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all of them. But I do want to point out on page 2, the last 3 of this section or on this page look at communication. So telling people what I want and what I don't want regarding my health and personal care, telling people how I make choices about my health and personal care. And then the third one is making sure people understand what I'm saying about my health and personal care. So these 3 types of support, so telling people what I want and don't want, telling people how I make choices, and then making sure people understand what I'm saying. They are all the same in all of the different life areas. We all communicate differently, and sometimes we might want support with that communication. Maybe not in all of our life areas, but in certain life areas. So we wanted to make sure that it was clear that people have that option to say that they want support with communication in each of the life areas if they choose to. So the second life area is friends and partners. And for Sam, he doesn't need any help understanding and choosing if he wants to date and who he wants to date. However, when it comes to things like understanding and making choices about birth control and pregnancy and accessing medical care if needed, that is something that Sam needs some support with because he's not quite sure, is he even interested in having a child or not? And what does that look like? What are options for birth control for him, and understanding what birth control looks like for his partner? When it comes to making choices about sex, Sam wants to be able to make those on his own. But making choices about marriage is something that he wants to be able to talk to somebody about, because that's a lot larger of a discussion or a choice for him. Then we go into the topic of just choosing who to spend time with, and that's something that Sam feels like he's able to do on his own without any support or help from others. The third life area is money. And this looks at things like getting information about my finances. That's something that Sam does want somebody to help him with. Talking to a bank. That can be kind of scary sometimes. Sometimes banks use words that you don't understand. So having that support there is helpful. Same thing when it comes to making big decisions about Sam's money. So if he's going to open a banking account, doing something like signing a lease or contract that might involve lots of money, he wants to be able to talk to somebody about that and get help. Filling out financial forms and documents. A lot of times there's, legal words or words that we don't understand on those forms. And so Sam wants somebody that can help him make sure that he understands what the forms say before he signs anything or fills it out. And Sam also wants help from with people that he trusts when it comes to keeping a budget so that he knows how much money he can spend. Now, when it comes to something like paying rent and bills on time, Sam's mother is actually his payee. So she handles that, and Sam is just fine with that. That is something that he has no interest right now in doing. So if he does end up moving out into an apartment like he wants to, his mom for the time being would be the one handling his making sure that his rent and bills are paid on time. And that might be something in the future that he might look at learning how to do, or maybe working to do, but with some help. But for right now, that would be something that his mom does. Where I live in community living. So when it comes to getting and looking at information about places where he's lived, Sam can do that on his own. He understands where he's lived. He understands where he might want to live for that matter. But when it comes to choosing exactly where to go, he does want to talk that through with other people. He's got an idea about being in the city, because he thinks that that's kind of a place for him to go to make his dreams come true. But, when it comes to the actual apartment, or if he's renting a house, that kind of thing, he would like to talk to somebody about that. Same thing when it comes to thinking about who to live with. Is he going to live on his own or have roommates? That's a choice that he wants to get some help with. Understanding chores and then reminding him to do chores and helping him with doing it. Sam's lived with his family his whole life. And so living on his own is going to mean that he's responsible for taking care of that place all on his own or with his roommate. And so that's a skill that he's still working to develop. So if he is to move out on his own, that's something that he wants some help with. And then understanding any lease I'm thinking about, and help me understand any rules of my home and community. Sometimes apartment complexes or rentals have their own kind of community rules, and those might be different from what you're used to. Excuse me. So Sam does want some help with that. Sam is still in school, and he does want some help from his family with getting and looking at his educational information and records. Excuse me, the pollen's getting me. Sam still wants to make those decisions ultimately on his own, but he wants the support with understanding what his options are at school and with being able to talk through with his parents and people he trusts. Making decisions about whether or not to go to school and where to go. Again, those are all bigger decisions that he wants to talk through with other people. As well as making decisions about special education and accommodations. Sam has an IEP at school, so he does get supports, and he is trying to decide, are these supports that he needs to continue or wants to continue? Or maybe there's some other support that maybe he should ask for now that he's turning 18 and kind of looking at this transition time. And then attending education meetings, including his IEP meetings and school conferences, that's something that Sam still wants his parents to be able to do. However, when it comes to things like making decisions about school activities and events, Sam's pretty good about saying, here's the things I'd like to do. For instance, plays, musicals, dances at school. And then he can also tell his parents pretty clearly there are things that he does not really like to do and doesn't have any interest in going to at school. When we get to working, the first task looks at choosing if I want to work. And Sam's pretty clear that yes, he does want to work and he can make that decision on his own. When it comes to understanding his work choices and then applying for jobs, that's something that he does want help with. He's got an idea of what he wants to do, but sometimes there are jobs out there that you might not even think about. And then there's the whole piece of applying for a job. So Sam definitely wants help with thinking about all of that and even help with understanding applications. Understanding how working will affect my benefits like Social Security or Medicaid benefits, that can be really confusing. So Sam does want help with that too. As well as understanding the benefits I can have at work. So if he works somewhere where he maybe gets vacation time or sick time, understanding what he can have can be, kind of complicated. So he does want some help with understanding that. And working again has a lot of possible choices or decisions or tasks that you might want assistance with. Then we go to my rights and safety. So understanding my rights as a voter and registering to vote, that's something that Sam feels pretty comfortable with. So he doesn't need any help with that or want any help with that. However, understanding my choices when voting at elections, so understanding who's on the ballot and who he could vote for, that's something he wants to be able to talk with somebody about to get a better understanding of who's running on the election, who's on the ballot, and maybe what their stances are or what their views are to make sure that he's making an informed decision when it comes to voting. Sam will be new to voting since he's 18. So he does want some help with actually casting his ballot the first time because it's a new thing. He's never done it before. But he kind of feels like, once I do it once, I probably can do it again on my own. But he does want some help this first time. And he's also saying he wants some support when it comes to understanding and signing contracts and any formal agreements. Again, Sam can fill out documents and likes to do written documents on his own, but he does like people to talk through the contracts and agreements, those kinds of things, to make sure that he understands how to fill them out and what they're saying. And then understanding and getting help if I'm being treated badly. So something like people are abusing me, neglecting, or taking advantage of me. Sam is very trusting. He thinks everybody's his friend, and he's aware of that. So he does say, okay, yes, I could see where maybe people could do things to me, could be mean to me or take advantage of me. So I would like some help with recognizing when that might happen. Again, people aren't going to tell him who to hang out with or when to hang out with somebody. But if somebody that he trusts or somebody that he's asked to be a supporter hears something or sees something that they have some concerns about, then they'll go talk to Sam about it. And then finally, for my rights and safety, communicate to others and make sure people understand what I'm saying in regards to my rights and issues of safety. Sam does want to make sure that people are understanding him. And so he has asked some of his supporters to help him with this, that people understand what he's saying and that people are listening to what he's trying to say about his rights and his preferences. Now, the last one is meeting and talking with my supporters. So a lot of times this life area kind of goes along with having a facilitator, somebody that kind of oversees your agreement and makes sure that your supporters are doing what they say they're going to do. And Sam has a facilitator. So Sam says that he does want assistance with contacting his supporters to set up meetings. He also wants help with talking to his supporters when he's upset or might have a problem with one of them. However, when it comes to stuff like keeping his supporters updated on how he's doing or keeping his supporters updated on what he's doing, Sam feels like he's got that down. He talks to everybody. He tells them what's going on in his life. He doesn't need anybody else to help him with that. And then communicating to my supporters to make sure they are understanding what I'm saying. He does want some help with that, just to make sure that, especially if he's having a difficult time or, not getting along with maybe one of his supporters, he does want some help to make sure that his supporter is understanding what he's trying to say. Then we have this option, the other choices or activities. This gives you the opportunity to write in any kind of situation or choice that you might have that I want help with this. Either, I want to be able to do this, but with help, or I want somebody else to do this all together for me. And it might be something that we haven't covered on here, so you can write it in here and then add it to your agreement. And I'll show you how to do that during our week 4 session. So that is it for this discovery tool. Next week is our third session, and at that time, we're going to look at the relationship map. We're going to look at how do you use the relationship map to figure out who you might ask to be a supporter on your agreement. And then we're also going to talk about how can you ask people to be a supporter, because that can be kind of scary. So we'll go through all of those things next week at 6:30 on Tuesday. And these are the same resources that I showed you all last week, but they are very helpful resources. So I want to make sure that you all have them again this week if needed. And so now I'm going to open us up to questions. And I'll also put my contact information up here. Again, if you don't feel comfortable asking questions in this setting, that's okay. You can email me, you can call me. I'm happy to talk anytime. Or if something comes up and you have a question later, or you want help even completing any of the discovery tools or filling out the agreement, I'm happy to meet with you and do that as well.
Thank you, Sarah. Now we will stop recording and our participants, our attendees can ask questions. Okay, no more recording.